Hi everyone, this is the Unit 7 study guide. You can see at the top here we've got the state standards that we're covering in this unit. So let's go ahead and get started. This is the answer key for that study guide. So our first question here says 14 students' test scores were recorded below. Find the mean, median, mode, and range. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put this data in order. So I see that I've got a 43 as my smallest piece of data here. And then I've got a 70. And then I've got a 75. Then I've got a 78. And I've got a couple of 82s. And then I've got an 85. Then I have a couple of 88s. And I've got a 91 and a 93. And then I'm going to end with 3 95s. I'm going to go ahead and put some commas between my numbers here so I don't get them jammed together. All right, so going to go ahead and take care of my mode. First of all, I've got 395, so that's my mode. For my mean, I'm going to get my calculator and add all of these numbers up. So you want to be careful with this because there's so many numbers. We want to make sure that we get them all. That's an easy mistake to make. All right, so I get 1,060 for the sum, and I've done that a couple of times already, so I know that that's accurate. And then I'm going to count how many pieces of data I have here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm just going to double check that I got all the data by counting this too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So fairly confident I actually have 14 pieces of data here. So dividing that by 14, we get 82.857. I'm going to round that to the tens place, which would give me 82.9. 82 and 9/10 for my mean. Now I'm going to look for my median. So in order to find my median, I'm just going to work in from both ends at the same time, covering one number at a time. So get rid of those two ends, and those two, and then those two, and then those two, and then those two, and then those two, and we can see that we've got an 85 and an 88 in the middle, and so I'm going to add those two together and then divide by 2. So 85 plus 88, and then divide that by 2, and I see then that my median should be 86 and 5/10. And finally, one of my easier ones, my range, I'm going to take my largest number and subtract my smallest piece of data. So 95 minus my 43, and I see that my range then was 52. All right, now my question is, which data measure above, in other words, which measure of central tendency here best represents the data and justify our answer? Well, one of the pieces of data that would be a good measure is the median. And the reason we would choose the median is because it's not affected by this 43, which is an outlier. So the median, because it's less affected by the outlier of 43, and then, of course, the mean is pulled off a little bit by 43, but it's not like as if this were a 2, so it's not pulled off that terribly much. So we could also use the mean here because it averages all the numbers together. All right, next one, we're going to work a little bit with some decimals here. It says use the following data values, place your answer in the blanks provided. And so again, first thing I'm going to do is put these in numerical order. And so my smallest piece of data here is 1 2/10. And then my next piece of data is going to be 7 6/10. And of course, as I've told you before, just pretend like this is money and it'll make it a little less painful that they're decimals. Got 2 7 6/10 there. We've got 7 8/10. We've got an 8.0. We've got 8.8s here, 8 8/10. We've got 2 of those. And we've got a 9 1/10. And then we've got a 9 5/10. Okay, so my mean, again, going to add all of those together. So let's just double check. I've got 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 9 pieces of data. All right, and so 1 2/10 plus 7 6/10 plus 7 6/10 again, plus 7 8/10 plus 8 plus 8 8/10 plus 9 1/10 plus 9 5/10. And so I get a total of 68 4/10. And again, I've checked that a couple of times so I know that that's accurate. So I've got 68 4/10 is my sum, and I'm going to divide that by 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So dividing that by 9, and I get a 7 6/10 for my mean. So 7 6/10 here for my mean. All right, my median, again, starting at the outside edges and working in until I find the 1 number in the middle or the 2 that I'm going to add and divide by 2. And here we come up with 1 overall median right in the middle of that data, and it is 8. And then our mode, the mode that we see here, we've got 2 modes because 7 6/10 and 8 8/10 both occur twice, which is 1 more time than any of the other pieces of data. So we've got a double mode here. 7 6/10 and 8 8/10. And then our range, we're going to take our biggest number and subtract our smallest number. So we're going to take our 9 5/10 and subtract our 1 2/10, and we see that our range is 8 3/10. Then we're asked to name the outlier for this set of data, and the outlier is 1 2/10. It's much lower than the rest of the data. Okay, so we've got Oliver down here. He's trying to find the mean of the data, and here are his numbers, 20, 30, 70, 50, 50, and 20. Find the error in his work, describe the error, and correct the error to give the correct mean of the data. So I am going to go ahead first of all and find the mean, and what I'm going to do then is take 20 plus 30 plus 70 plus 50 and another 50 and 20. So I've got 240, and you can see that Oliver only came up with 170. When I added these together, I got 240, and then I'm going to divide that by the 6 pieces of data, and so I know that my mean should be 40, but Oliver got 34, and so we need to figure out what Oliver did. So if we compare the pieces of data here, you can see that Oliver forgot the 70. So should have been, the mean should have been 40, and Oliver forgot 1 piece of data, which was the 70, and computing his mean. All right, guys, that's page 1. Tune into the next video for page 2.